Hello, my name's Josh. I'm an electrician at Portofino Island Resort, Pensacola Beach, Florida. It consists of 5 towers. It's a resort and a place where people live. 5 22-story towers. It also has a lifestyle center and consists of quite a bit of acreage. A typical day out here, we take care of common area lighting is a real big factor. Also, we have to maintain equipment like this on a scheduled basis. Every year somebody has to get in here, vacuum out all the dust, and make sure everything's tight. That's just one example. We do all kinds of different things. Not only do I do just power and maintain power, I'm also in charge of keeping the communication systems up, which is all your Cat5, your telephone, and things of that nature. So in a typical day, first thing I do, I go to my box, and it's full of work orders. And there's no telling what I'll be doing that day. One day, like for example today, I ran power to new natural gas heaters we got on property. I went to a couple units, changed some ballast, repaired some lighting in the common area. And now, right before I started this interview, I had to fix some Cat5 wiring for the elevators over here in this tower. So there's no set routine really. It's kind of a reactive type job in this environment. But we do plan our preventative maintenance. We do that as we can do it. But because we take care of such a large property and over 700 units, it's very difficult to predict what the next day is going to be. And the way we're structured out here is dispatch will make me work orders. So every day I have a stack or a list of things I have to do. So there's no guessing what I have to do, but there's no way to predict tomorrow or even 5 days from now what I'm going to have to do. When that season is here, this place is just slammed full of people. Pull equipment goes down all the time, and even ACs or anything that goes down, we have to get back online as soon as possible because people want to get comps. So if I'm not doing my job, my boss isn't happy because he has the comp rooms. So that's pretty much a typical day though. It's either chaotic, or if it's nice and slow, we got a nice structured little way of work orders and a little routine that we know just for the day. Well, if anyone was trying to get into this field, I would let them know that there are several different ways you can. You can go, depending on the state you live in, there's different laws and different ways, but overall, majority of people have to have in the field experience for 4 years or more. Then they take a state test, and that certifies them as an electrician. The other way to do it is to actually go through an apprenticeship program, and most apprenticeship programs are between 2 to 4 years, depending on the state you live, and then you can be eligible to take your test as well. And there's also just the trade school you can go to. It's not really apprenticeship. You can just go, like in this state, you can go after work and go to night school, basically at a trade school, and then when you're done with that, you can get employed as an electrician and then take your test. The other way to do it is if you get hired on with certain manufacturers like Square D or GE, they'll send you to their school, and they'll certify you to work for them as an electrician. The same thing with the Otis elevator guys. Those electricians working in those shafts of those elevators, they may not even be certified through the state, but they're certified through the union that they're working for. So those are pretty much the options you have if you want to get into this field. At the same time, it's not necessary if you work for another licensed contractor to actually have a license to just work in the field. And there are a lot of people that have been doing electrical work all their life that never get certified and still make a handsome living. So my suggestion, if I was a young man again and I wanted to get in this field, I would simply get an entry-level position at your local electrical contractor and bounce around, diversify, do a little bit of residential. If that bores you, then get hired with another company, entry-level, do some commercial. The more experience under your belt makes you more marketable. And a real good electrician is going to know not just power, they're going to know power distribution, fire alarm systems, communication systems, and they're also going to know how to use audio equipment and just the basic all-around guy that can work with anything with electrons. That's the ideal high marketing electrician. And Technology keeps changing, so continuing education is always great too. If you like math, it's a great field to be in. If you like to learn something almost every day without trying to learn something, it's a great field. The best things are you're guaranteed to learn something every year because technology keeps changing, and we're going to get some kind of new widget on this property that I have to install. Learning never stops. The hours are actually pretty great. I work from 7 to 3:30 every day. You can't get that everywhere. And typically, between an 8-hour day of actual physical, my hands-on tools may only be about 6.5 hours a day, because there is a lot of paperwork, and that's one of the downsides. But if you ask me what the worst thing about this job is that it's dangerous. If you are not paying attention, you can get killed being an electrician, or you can kill someone else on accident. So that honestly is the worst part of the job, that you have to be very attentive to what you're doing. Otherwise, somebody can seriously get hurt. The second worst thing is that you have to be in the weather. It's just part of the gig. You're going to work outside sometimes, and you're going to work out inside sometimes. And you can't be picky. If you're scared of being outside and working with your hands and getting on ladders and doing a little bit of physical work, this isn't the field you want to be in, because that's part of the job. Sometimes you have to work in the rain, you have to work in the heat, you have to work in the cold. Just because the weather's bad doesn't mean that things can still be off. We have a thousands and thousands of gallons lift station on this property. And many times I've been called out of bed to come up here in the rain to fix this lift station. And if anybody knows what a lift station is, it's a big tank that pumps sewage to the utility grid. And when that stuff overflows, that's bad. And that's the other negative part of this job at this particular resort, is there is a lot of pressure to get things done in a timely manner. And when you're pushed like that, you can make mistakes, and mistakes could ultimately lead to someone getting injured. One more positive thing about the job is you make people happy though. You don't think a light bulb in your house is a big deal until it goes out. And you don't think anything about the air conditioning in your house until there's no power to it and it's 100 degrees outside. And you get a sense of accomplishment at this job because, for example, if I go to a unit and somebody's air conditioner isn't working because of a power issue, their stove's not working because of a power issue, and I resolve their problem, they're happy. And I get gratification out of that when I go home at the end of the day and I go to bed. To where it gives you a sense of purpose and a sense that you're actually helping people every day. Your work was more than likely going to outlive you, and that's almost like art to me. But also, anything you do as an electrician, you're having a positive impact on the world. If I were a young man again and I wanted to get into this trade, and I knew I was interested in it, the first thing I would do is try to get a job, an entry-level job in any electrical company, which is not difficult to do, especially residential. The pay's not going to be good, and you're going to work hard, and you're going to be hot because the new guy and the helper is always going to be the guy in the attic. You're going to be the young guy in the crew, but that's the best way to get into it, is to simply get employment. And you don't have to have a GED to be an electrical helper. You're not considered an electrician. You're going to be the guy, you're going to be the mule. But the mule will learn once he's taught. And ask questions. When you're on the job, find the journeyman or the superintendent on that job that has the most experience and start bouncing stuff off his head. Say, hey, how's this stuff work? What do you mean this black wire will hurt you and the green wire don't? Why? You know, use why a lot. And that's really the best way to get good at it, and it's the best way to get into it, is to do it. And when you want to get hired later on after you've been doing it, say 5 or 6 years, even if you don't decide to actually take your test, experience always outweighs education or paper. So we could have somebody that went through the apprenticeship program but never worked in the field, and they bent conduit in a classroom. I'm not going to hire that guy over the other guy that's never taken the test, but he's been doing it for 20 years. So you always got to remember that. In order to succeed in anything, you got to get your hands dirty. Another tool you may use is staffing agencies. And again, you're going to look at what they pay an electrician helper on your first job, and you're going to say, what? I can flip burgers and make this. Why am I crawling in an attic? But 5 years from now, the more questions you ask, you'll be making twice what you would be making flipping burgers. And guess what? Electricity is not going anywhere. Until they invent wireless power, you got a job somewhere on this planet. So it's not a bad field to get into. When you get in the field, to succeed and move up, you're going to either have to take your test, or you're going to have to diversify and get into different aspects of being an electrician. A lot of electricians get pigeonholed, say they've done it for 20 years and all they've done is residential. Well, that's great, but when the economy goes down and they're not building houses every day, like has happened here lately, you need to be able to diversify and go into communications, or be able to go into industrial, or be able to go into some other aspect of the electrical field, because it's a huge field. A lot of people think an electrician just, puts wire nuts together and puts breakers in, but the trade encompasses several different levels. And there are some things electricians do that you wouldn't think they would do, like electronics. If you're an electrician, you should be able to even look on electronics, and you need to know how to read blueprints. And in school, I never would have thought it, but to be an electrician, a good electrician, you need to be pretty computer savvy. Because out here at this resort, I order all my material through email. And if I didn't know how to use a computer, I wouldn't get anything. So, for one thing, what I would want to study more in school, if I was a young man again, would be more math, because there's a lot of math, a lot of formulas in new construction and old construction, replacement parts, and how to read blueprints. At an early age, the more blueprints you read, the better you will be in the future. And that's a big part of my job too. When I have to find something for someone or something goes wrong, I go first thing to the blueprints to find out where my source of my problem potentially is, and that'll guide me right to where it is 99% of the time. The other 1% of the time is experience. And in order to move up in this field, you have to have experience. And like I say, when I mean experience, not just one thing. You need experience a couple years doing this, a couple years doing that, all in the same field.